on the European coast. And they said they would teach me a lesson. Interestingly enough, the ICC didn't do anything about it. First letter we wrote, there was no response. When we asked, they say, oh, well, there are two ways to write, to do. One way you write, that means you, the government, will conduct the investigation and put the person before the ICC. But this way where you write, you use, which you write, and then the ICC would conduct their own investigation, which is more advisable. So we changed all that, and we didn't hear anything. And that's why we left the ICC, because they were happy to prosecute Africans, but not Europeans. So a court, an international court that is only bent on persecuting Africans, we will not a member to that. Oh, so there are so many factors. We left the Commonwealth, and they were angry with me because we didn't want Gambia to be seen as a colony of Britain. Colonialism has ended. We have the Foreign Secretary of Britain making comments about the Gambia, deciding what should be done about the Gambia, which was unacceptable. We have always realized that the Commonwealth is a neo-colonialist institution. But we were bidding our time thinking that we can reform it within to make sure that it represents everybody's right, only to realize that we all go there as governors and not heads of state. I decided to leave the Commonwealth. We cannot be colonized twice and we will not be enslaved twice. These are some of the reasons. The other reasons are also related to natural resources, but I won't go further into this, because when I refused to accept 5%, that is for the oil, 5%, that means 5 cents for every dollar for 35 years, I was told there will be regime change. I said, oh, if God says so, I'll be worried. But because you are saying so, now I'm not even accepting whatever offer you give, unless it is 50-50. You could have been exporting oil before other countries, but this is the problem. As you stated about Gabon, this is the reality. You know what Charles Taylor's crime was? They said it's true that he got involved in this conflict, but that alone wouldn't have warranted his arrest. It was when they discovered, I think, some minerals, and they offered him the 5 cents per dollar, and he refused. They told him regime change. And so when there was regime change also, they wanted to make sure that, because they use intimidation for other African leaders to say, oh, you see what happened to this person. And that's why they took him to ICC or whatever, or the tribunal. So also, other heads of state that have minerals that are very expensive, they are the major producers, but they are the poorest of the poor countries in Africa. When a particular head of state in West Africa said he was going to make sure that they have, when he saw the price of uranium, and said, this is unacceptable. What these people are giving us is bitter, it's an insult. At a meeting in Libya, he made a comment, and I told him, my brother, I know you don't like me, because he said, you know, sometimes we thought you are crazy, but when we go back and listen to what you say, reflect on what you say, and look at our reality, we know that you are a Pan-African. And I thought, well, I'll tell you. And he said, this is unacceptable. I said, okay, well, but be ready for one thing. They would overthrow you if you are not strong. And so he decided to reverse and wanted to open it for anybody who is interested. His former colonial master said, anything that belongs to our former colonies, in terms of minerals, we have the first choice. First choice of, in law you say refusal. Yes. So if you want to change, We have to negotiate. They gave him an offer which was unacceptable. And they made it very clear that that is why we have basis. So the situation is this. If you stand up for defend your God-given resources, you are in trouble with those people that still believe that by virtue of their color, they are superior to anybody who is not their color. And so, this is the situation. Who is the EU to say that whether, no matter what happens in the court, the December 1st elections will be enforced? In Austria, didn't they go back to the elections? Austria, when the far right, they said the far right lost narrowly by a percentage point. The far right came back and said, no, they went, didn't they go to court? And the court allowed them to go back to the polls, whereby the far right won and they accepted defeat this time, that it was true that they lost. So if for Europe they can, for the West they will always call for peaceful resolution of conflict. And in Africa they want violent, in fact that is a resolution, because once you think of adding petrol into a fire, thank God there's no fire in this country. This is how they destabilize our countries. Put one against the other, as one of you said, brother against brother, whatever. Because that is how they get our raw materials, our natural resources, free of charge. So, and unfortunately, it took us 9 years to 10 years intervention in Liberia to resolve the crisis. Whereas the war has ended, the economic crisis. So in all countries like Sierra Leone and others,